Very romantic, that steam emanating from underneath the train there, underneath the steam locomotive. See it a lot in the movies actually. And her face disappeared in a cloud of steam. Hello, this is the Meshtools J50 steam locomotive add-on DLC for Train Simulator. I fired up Train Simulator 2015 again. I'm doing another video, which hopefully you guys will enjoy. I've sort of gotten back into Train Simulator as of late, as you have probably seen as well, and I've just been buying a few little bits and pieces here and there off Steam, trying not to spend too much money. But yes, this is the Meshtools J50 with the advanced scripting, and I'm running the West of Scotland lines, the Port Road scenery expansion as well. So I figured what better way to give this locomotive a good little run this morning, on this rainy morning as well. So we're just going to get going very shortly. Just wanting to show you guys what the J50 is all about. It's a inside cylinder locomotive, 2-cylinder I believe, and it's was originally built to do short freight runs and passenger work as well. And I quite like it. It's probably one of my most favorite Meshtools locomotives at present. So we're just going to have a look around. Here is our train that's waiting for us patiently, and our passengers, which are hopefully waiting for us just as patiently as well. Just going to make sure the handbrake is off here. And it's worth mentioning as well, again, as I just mentioned earlier too, that the locomotive comes with two scripting versions, the standard and the advanced. So obviously, being who I am, I'm going to run the advanced version because I believe in absolute realism. The reverser is very well modeled. You actually have to press E, otherwise you can't move it. You'll see that it's got a notched setup there, so I'm just holding E and then just clicking and dragging to move it. And I think there's about 7 or so different notches on there at least. It has a vacuum brake, so this is the older style brake. So we're looking at about 18.5 inches, there we go, and we know it's fully released. You do use a lot of steam though, so you have to sort of play with the brake handle. Once we've got our reservoir full as well, we'll just jiggle the handle a bit here, there we go. We just want a tiny hiss of steam, a tiny leakage anyway, otherwise our brakes will come back on. So I'm just using the small ejector there to enable the brakes to remain released, and you'll hear a slight hissing, but this will conserve as much steam as we can. I've got the cylinder cocks open. I'm just going to open the throttle up, and they've done a really good job on this locomotive as well. So a little bit late to the party with these Meshtools add-ons. They've been out for quite a while now. I think the J50 was probably one of the more later releases as well. I'll be doing a video on that too soon, hopefully. But the J50 is probably one of my favourites at the moment as well. Just the small British steam locomotives of the early steam era. And as I mentioned as well, it's an inside cylinder locomotive, so you've just got a single connecting rod on the outside there, but all the movement and linkages is happening inside, which you can actually see as well if you look a little bit carefully there. So it's very well modeled. Just closed up the cylinder cocks as well, as you probably noticed. Just have to run forward here, just make sure there's no traffic nearby. I think there's actually a mainline train coming, but we're not going to actually go that far forward. We just want to clear this little turnout here, this little switch. And I believe it will automatically set itself once we pass through. Let's just watch. There we go. Yep, it's just automatically opened for us thanks to the fat controller, or the train controller. So we've got the gap in the rail now. We can just go straight backwards and through towards our train. Just open the cylinder cocks again, and we'll hold E and drag back to reverse. We don't need full reverse, seeing as we're unloaded. Just going to give it a touch of throttle to get going. And what an excellent simulation as well, this Meshtools locomotive. locomotives are. And I've run out of steam, of course, a few times with these locomotives. Give it a bit more power. You can see there that the particle systems are very realistic as well. The way that the choofs happen in time with the pistons. And on some of these Meshtools locos, it is possible to pop your cylinders as well if you don't have your cylinder drains or your cylinder cocks open correctly. Let's get going anyway, because I'm sure our passengers are getting a bit anxious. Closing up here to the platform. Just going to blow the whistle there to just let people know. I've got the manual coupling on. You can see the lighting effects there are quite nice also. The shadows and whatnot. So it's Control Shift C to manually couple up once you're against the buffers. Just going to go nice and slow here. There we go. Okay. Control Shift C. And you'll see a little linkage there as well. There we go. We're connected, so we'll just hit T now and we'll start the loading process. And we can see there that we are a bit late, unfortunately, but we should be fine. We're about what's that, 8:06. Yeah, we're running about 8 minutes late or so. Once loaded, we can just pull straight out of here and away we go. Okay, we're pretty much ready to go. Still just loading. Just gonna do a quick check while we're here. Steam pressure's good. Just checking our sight glasses there. They're looking good as well. Whoops, timeliness penalty. Okay. I quite like the lighting effects as well that you get from the cab, from the firebox. Okay, we're ready to go. Just going to start the coalman, the fireman, shoveling a bit. We want about 500 pounds of fire mass to keep it in the sweet spot. Cylinder drains open. We're all clear up ahead, all clear behind. Here we go. Just going to take up the slack. And then once we've taken up the slack, we're going to increase the throttle a little bit more. So pushing forward on this side, or pushing this tube in, actually opens the throttle. So that's the easy way to remember, because if you look at the levers, they're actually going the opposite directions on either side. So I just look at that little shaft, that little tube. And you know me, I don't believe in running with HUD mode or anything like that. So I'm just going to try and keep as much of the overlays off as I can. One thing they could have done is probably just give a better firebox simulation, so just to see the coal and all that sort of stuff. But I just use the fire mass heads up view there. Just going to close the throttle here, just momentarily, now that we are underway, and close the cylinder drains. Verify that we are all good traffic wise. Just going to skip through these little switches here. Again, they've done an excellent job as well with this. So I've got about 2.4 miles to the next station, and I've got a slight grade as well. That's fine. Then we've got about 3 or so carriages behind us. Okay, we're coming up to a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit as well. So we're going to be able to open the throttle shortly and get this show on the road. So just making sure everything's clear. Okay, let's give her a bit more throttle. And I have actually driven a steam locomotive in real life. I've done a passenger run in a little national park area here in Australia. And so my wife was actually in the carriages behind as I drove. Just watching the fire mass there. Yes, so this does bring back a few memories actually of driving a steam locomotive in real. I did actually have a go at firing as well, very briefly, but I think I might have contributed to the brakes coming on due to the pressure loss. Anyway, just looking at this switch up ahead here as well. We're actually going to skip over to the main line now, because we've got a dead end ahead, and we're really going to be able to get going hopefully. So yeah, so it was very interesting driving in real life as well. A lot of these controls were very warm and hot to the touch, and really needed a bit of foot power to operate as well, especially those foot operated levers. So just going to go easy there. I'm going to notch back now on our reverser and re-add the throttle. Got to be very careful with these notched reversers as well, with these Meshtools add-ons. If you're actually trying to downshift to a lower reverser setting and you've got too much throttle on, it will actually force the lever out of your hands, as it were. So it's very realistic. So just pulling back on the reverser now, getting a higher gear, as it were, and now we're picking up some speed, which is great. Just running under the bridge, and we got a 60-mile-an-hour limit on the line, so we're probably not going to get to that much speed, unfortunately, but we are going to give it a good crack. We've got about 400 odd pounds of fire mass, so we should be fine. I'm just going to notch back a little bit more. Notice that I've actually closed the throttle up quite a bit as I do that. Otherwise you'll get the lever thrown out of your hands and you'll end up in full reversing, full forward, which will kill your steam and probably break your wrist in real life. And then you can see the pistons pounding away the connecting rods and the big ends underneath there. And we've just passed a disused siding. Go easy on the throttle here. It's worth watching the pressure as well as you go along with these locomotives, and I'm just going to see, yes, it's actually okay. We're looking at about 170 psi for these types of locomotives, so I'm just going to pull back a little bit more. Oops, just hold E, get it into the notch, and the notching physics are done very well also. So yes, I am manually firing on the advanced scripting. Once again, I'm just going to open the throttle fully for what it's worth. Now we're not getting much report from the cylinders because we've got the reverser notched back pretty hard, so we're not making much power, but we should have efficiency. And you can see here as well, the boiler water is dropping. You can actually open these little porthole hatches as well, which is very cool. Okay, just going to close up the throttle again because I want to make another reverser adjustment. I don't think we're getting enough power, so yeah, you can see that surge forward a bit more now. Whistle. Crossing coming up ahead. We don't have long to our next station, but obviously I want to try and just get through this area without losing too much steam. We are coming up to a bit of a downgrade though. Just got our crossing coming up. A very beautiful scenery as well here. The west of Scotland lines, the Port Road, which is what the scenarios are actually based on. So this is, as I hopefully mentioned earlier, the getting to know the locals scenario for the J50. Okay, picking up some good speed now. We're doing probably about 30 miles an hour, and we are losing pressure. So as you can see, you do have to manage your steam pressure quite cautiously. Okay, it's sort of holding now. I've just closed up the throttle fully. We should be down here about 170 psi. We're at about 145 or so. As long as we don't get down to about 120 or less, because it becomes very hard to recover. I'm just going to play with the blower a little bit there. We don't actually need the blower much while we're moving, it's only to create a draft during standstill. If you've got the regulator open whilst you're running, that should create enough of a draft anyway. So just going to get on the brake here because our station is actually coming up. So you can see there I've got the brake gauge on the right hand side. I'm watching that as I brake. With these vacuum systems as well, I like to keep it at about I think it's 10 inches as I slow down. Do not take it down to 0 because that doesn't actually make your passengers very happy, and you're braking very hard when you're at 0 vacuum as well. So 0 inches, I believe. You can add a bit of throttle, open our cylinder drains because they have we've had the throttle closed there for a while, so just in case there's any condensation. And there goes little Cessna. And I have seen that A2A have just released their Cessna as well. Yes, what a great plane that is looking to be as well from A2A. So I hope to feature that soon on this channel as I get time. Just wanted to capture this J50 today though. Alright, just squeezing harder on the brake now, and we've stopped. So you can see we've stopped at about between 5 and 10 inches of mercury there, which is where about where you want to be anyway. So let's unload and load. We are a bit late already anyway, so not good to keep the people waiting any longer. We've stopped the train in a fairly good position. We've got all the carriages on the platform. We've only got a short train anyway, but this is not a very powerful locomotive, so you just have to be careful with the amount of carriages that you put on. I'm just going to get some water going. And so you open the water valve first, and then you open the little knob there. So this is actually the live injector. This is the exhaust injector, I believe. And you can see there that our pressure is increasing as well. So we're almost back to full pressure, which is great, because we should be moving again very shortly, and our brakes are actually coming off. So let's get going. I should actually wind on the handbrake when I stop. Yeah, the brakes were almost released as well, so just be wary of that if you stop on a grade at a station and your brakes slowly make their way off and then start the train moving against your wheel. You'll fail the scenario if there's loading happening at the time. Let's chuff our way out of the station. We've got our cylinder drains open, cylinder cocks, making a gradual exit out of the station here. And you can see there that we've got our fire mass. It sort of dropped quite a bit, so let's open the little hatch here. That little hatch as well, the more you open it, the faster he shovels the coal as well. And we've got a 75-mile-an-hour limit. Just as well, we've got full pressure. I'm going to open the throttle up here and just get going a bit. You can hear the troops now, the sharp report from the cylinders. We're doing some good work here, pulling the train out of the station. And they're getting a bit irregular, so let's close up the throttle a bit. Okay, we'll just close it fully just in case. Hold E and drag the reverser down to about, oh yeah, that'll do. Open the throttle again. So the reverser setting has a very profound effect on your steam usage and the force you're delivering to the locomotive's wheels. So those of you who aren't, whoa, there we go. So that's what happens when you don't close the throttle correctly when you try and move. You see that? I can't actually move the reverser now unless I close the throttle fully. So just make sure you close up the throttle properly. And I'm just looking at the pressure as well. Playing around here with the wrong valves. Okay, so the rule of thumb again anyway, I'm just going to look at the pressure here. Whenever you make a reverser change, just close up the throttle to at least a third or so. Otherwise you'll get the reverser flung out of your hands, which is not good. Okay, we're moving along at a pretty good clip. We're picking up speed. We're about 25 miles an hour. And we have about 2.3 miles. And we are running late again, because we hung around too much at the start. That's fine. Okay, we've got about 500-ish pounds of fire mass, so we'll just close up the fire. We'll stop our firemen from shoveling. Our smoke's looking really good. And we'll just close up our firebox as well. That hasn't made much of an effect, which is great. I'm just going to get out of the throttle a little bit, now that we've got some speed. And we'll check on our water as well, so we'll close up the steam valve first and then the water valve, otherwise you get that annoying sound. When you're adding water as well, as you probably saw earlier, I turned on the water valve first and then slowly added the steam valve on. On some of these as well, you have to be really careful. On some of these Meshtools locomotives, you have to make the injector sing, as it were, so you have to balance your injector and your water valve to actually push the water through. I believe they haven't modeled that as much on the J50, so you can just open everything fully up and pump that water in. Okay, we seem to be doing alright, so we're just going to continue our way over. Got some nice scenery back here as well from the cars. Very nice add-on scenery here from the West of Scotland Line's expansion. We're doing well, so we're just rolling across. Whistle. Some nice open fields there. You can see a London bus in the background there, double-decker. And we're coming up to a crossing. I'm going to see if we can make up some time, but I just want to be careful with our steam consumption as well. Don't want to use too much steam up, obviously, and then be in that position where we can't make it back quickly enough. So I'm just going to get my foot out of the throttle a little bit. Steam pressure's looking good. Here comes another crossing. So yes, you can run out of steam, and if you're not careful, it can get a bit embarrassing as well. So, because if you lose too much steam, your brakes will come on automatically. It's more of a safety feature, I guess. So it's the steam pressure that's keeping the brakes released, you'd say. So just making our way through here. And apologies, I haven't put the proper running lights on either. I'm not even running with a headlight. So apologies for that. Just want to show you guys a little bit about the J50 in this video. Awesome little locomotive from Meshtools. Okay, we're coming up to the station and we've got a reduction in speed limit as well, so just got to be careful here. We're not doing 40 anyway, so that's fine, but just want to slow up for the platform. We've rung a whistle. You can see the brakes there as well, so I've come down about 15 or so inches. Just going to release briefly, because otherwise we'll stop too short. And just going to get back on the brake again, down to about 10 inches or so. Slow, 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 sort of balancing it here. Just want to stop right about here. Excellent. Alright. Load, unload. Dunregget, that's our station. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly, I'm sorry. Got some nice period era advertisements as well, or advertisements. What looks like a cortina down there. Okay, our pressure's recovered, or holding at the maximum. You can hear our blow-off valve. And you can see we've just gotten a timeliness penalty as well because we're late, because I suck. So let's get going ASAP, shall we? Hold E, move the reverser forward. Hang on, there's cylinder drains open. And we're pulling out again from our station. And I just love the shadow effects as well that you get on some of the higher graphic settings. Just reduce the throttle, reduce the reverser, and then get back on the throttle. Close up our drains and our firebox doors there. Make sure we silence our brake correctly. It takes a bit of playing. And I do remember in real life when I did drive a steam locomotive, the instructor or the driver there that I was on the boilerplate with was doing this as well. He was sort of jiggling about with the brake lever, and I sort of understand fully why he was doing that now. Okay, so Glen Luce is our next station, and we've just got 2 more stations after this, so it shouldn't take too much longer. We do have a fair distance, I think, between some of those later stations though, so... no, we're going to switch rails here. Going a bit too fast. Only about 20 miles an hour, should be okay. Hope no one's sipping their tea back there. Alrighty. Drink cold milk. I do. Right, let's open this throttle up, shall we? Get our firebox open. I'm actually a veteran of the Microsoft Train Simulator series, and I do remember actually riding my bicycle quite a distance to pick up that game when I was younger, when it first came out. Back then when I didn't have a disposable income. And what a simulator that was as well. Just going to close up our dampers a little bit here. The dampers actually control how much fire and how much steam you eventually produce as well. So I'm just going to find a halfway-ish mark here. Don't want to close them up too much, otherwise you'll lose your steam, but I just don't want to have our safety valves continually popping off there if we're not using all our steam up. You'll see there that we don't really have much of a grade either on the little HUD there. And we're doing about 30 miles an hour. And unfortunately we don't have a speedometer in these locomotives, true to the period realism. So these are the sorts of locomotives that you don't really drive too fast. They're happiest around 30 to 40 miles an hour. And it's a nice, comfortable speed for them. And you make it easier for the firemen as well when you drive at a more reasonable pace. And today we don't have much of a load behind us. We've just got a few cars, which isn't too bad. So away we go. Just closing up our throttle here. We've got a crossing up ahead, I believe. just going to notch back towards mid-gear here, because you don't really need much more than that when you're coasting about. Coasty, coasty, coasty. And I do like the scenery effects as well, the foliage. Doing about 33 miles an hour, we're just shy of that. We're just coasting down here. And our pressure's going down a little bit. Actually, that's probably right where we want it to be. I don't like to continually blow off the steam valves. It's just wasting steam, so... Good thing we reduced our dampers from earlier, but I think I might just open them up again. And just going to open our water valve and then open our steam valve. So this is the fireman's injector, which actually uses less steam. Uses the exhaust steam rather than the live steam. I'm just going to get back on the throttle there. Our fire mass is dropping a bit too, to about 400 pounds or so. In the old Microsoft Train Simulator series, if you went through a tunnel with your firebox doors open, it was scenario end. And that is realistic as well, by the way, because the fire can actually get sucked back into the cab, which is not great. And what else is not great? We've got a grade coming up as well, so this is where it really helps to know your scenario, to know your routes, know where the hills are, because now we're hardly recovering our steam. We're actually pumping water, and we're trying to ask power from the locomotive as well. So all these little things that you do actually use steam. So even the brakes being released, keeping the brakes released uses steam. Pumping water into the boiler uses steam. What else? Really anything else you can think of uses steam. So the main purpose of the steam obviously is to move the locomotive. So at the end of the day, if you don't have enough pressure to actually move the loco then and the train, you're in trouble. So that's where you really have to be careful, and that's where I love these types of locomotives as well, these add-ons that are realistic. They really force you to think ahead. So I'm just going to close off the throttle here. Oops! I thought I closed it. No, I didn't. That wasn't closed, that was open. Tube going in means the throttle's open. Oops. Anyway. No harm done. We're losing speed here, I believe. Actually, no, we're doing okay. We're where we want to be anyway. We've got our station coming up, so let's just back off completely on the throttle there. And we are actually going to switch tracks. We're doing just over 20 miles an hour. We're fine, we're good, no problem. So it does pay to actually know the route that you're traveling anyway, to ensure that you're just using your steam and generating it at the right time and having enough. And we're actually not doing that great at the moment. We're losing steam, well, we don't have that much pressure. And so because of that, I'm going to stop pumping the water because I think we've got enough. And just going to save some of our steam. Hopefully we'll get a lot of it back. It's a good thing the station's right here anyway, so just going to roll up here to the station, open the drains up in case there's any condensation. Just going to open our blower up a little bit now that we are actually slowing down. And just going to watch the brake there to ensure that we get a good application and stop where we want to stop. Glenluce. Welcome to Glenluce. Glenluce. That name again is Glenluce. So we've got about 10 inches there of mercury on our vacuum, which is where we want it to be. It's actually rising up slowly, I believe. So our brakes are coming off. We've got enough water. That's fine. You can see the steam valves there. You wouldn't actually open them like that without opening the water valves first. Again, we get a timeliness penalty. Boo-hoo. We got a slight grade coming up as well. Not really working in our favour at the moment, and our steam pressure is not where we want it to be either. So this is a little bit annoying. So we'll see what we can do. I'm not going to go to full gear, just to conserve our steam a bit. So I'm just going to take it back one notch. Alright, here we go. Here we go, here we go. Our brakes have released themselves, as you can see. We've got the drains open, that's why you get that sucking sound. We'll give it a few strokes of the cylinders, of the pistons. You better get to work, guys, on that pile of whatever that is, gravel. Just switched rails again, switched our tracks, close up our drains, and we shall see what we can muster. Just throttling back there to change our valve gear setting on our reverser, and just going to add some more power. Our pressure actually is increasing, but I think the way we reduced those when we reduced the dampers earlier, I think we had a pretty bad effect on the steam somehow, so we're not running as quickly as we'd like, or I'm not running as quickly as I'd like right now. Got a grade there ahead of us, and really we're not doing that great, to be honest. I'm just going to try and get some more power if I can. Hope it doesn't deplete my steam reserves too much. You can hear the sharp reports from the cylinders. We are asking her to work hard. We are. And again, this is really taking its effect on our steam boiler pressure, no doubt. Love the rain effects there on the glass as well. We're picking up speed, but it's not without its penalties, I'm sure. We're eating into our steam, what little we have. So let's have a look. Looking okay, actually. Our steam's coming back, which is good. And we're working our way up this incline. Let's just confirm. Yeah, we have increased from 150 psi. But again, our valve gear setting and our throttle is on pretty hard too, so I'm just going to balance that out a little bit. You really got to watch and actually balance your steam generation and usage, as I was mentioning earlier. I'm just going to throttle back here so I can switch reverser into a slightly higher gear setting. So if we pick up speed further, I'm going to notch that back even harder, just to try and save as much as I can. Okay, we've got about 7 miles actually till our next station. Look at that guy sitting up there. We're doing okay, to be honest. We're probably not working the locomotive as hard as we can. I'm just going to give her some more welly. You can see the big ends under there pumping away. I quite enjoy the inside cylinder locomotives as well. They have their own charm. You may not be able to see as much running gear from the outside, but certainly they certainly have their own charm as well. They just have that cleaner look from the outside. Smoke's looking good. Nice grey smoke, which is what we want. passengers would be happy to note that we are moving along at a fairly good clip. Looks like about 20 miles an hour at least, probably 25 or 26.8. How about that? Oh, we're dropping pressure again, because we had our throttle on full. That's taken its toll. So yes, we have our speed now, at least, so we can throttle back and just try and balance it out, and just at least try and hold the speed. And I think I see that needle slowly inching its way upwards by hairs, by millimeters. So we've got our speed anyway. We are going to lose it as well if we're not careful, so yeah, we are increasing back towards about 150 psi there. Again, the boiler limit is 170 before the safety valves start going off, so we are doing our safety valves a favour by running this way. But let me just close up the blower a bit. I like that report from the cylinders when you get to a certain speed. She's quite a stately lady. You can't actually see the decals from this view on the side of the locomotive. From the outside view you may have noticed the red decals, but see, you can see there the red decals on the side. But not from the interior cabin. Only a minor issue anyway. Less than 150 psi on the boiler, we're not looking good. And we can lose this pressure if we're not careful as well. So just looking at our water reserves, they're actually down to about half as well. So we're going to open the water valve and start pumping more water. We are using the exhaust injector as well, as I mentioned earlier, so that in theory shouldn't affect our steam pressure that much, but I won't be surprised if it still does. Just adding some more throttle here. I'm just going to add a little bit more coal. You really got to be on your toes with these types of long passenger runs. Our pressure is not doing too badly, I must say, but we are dropping speed as well. We're down to under 20 miles an hour now. And if I really laid into this thing, I could really lose whatever pressure I've got left as well, so we don't exactly want to do that. Just want to coast along a bit. And once we get our pressure back, I'll open that throttle up once again. Wonderful little locomotive here from Meshtools. This is the J50. And we are doing our getting to know the locals scenario today. The exhaust steam water injector doesn't actually pump as much water either, but I think our steam pressure is not really being too badly affected at the moment by all that water being pumped in. I'd like to get it back to about 150 if I could. We've almost got enough water. I might actually just close it up now actually. I've got just over 3/4 of water in the boiler anyway, so going to give her what for. See, our smoke's gone a bit grey now, so we're not burning as cleanly as I'd like, but it's not pitch black either. It's not a very sooty smoke, so that's good. Got a crossing coming up. got some peoples burning something from the looks of it, keeping warm, making breakfast, whatever it may be. Got some crap there next to the track. Alright, we've made it past 150 psi, which is great. Just going to adjust the boiler, the blower. We really don't need to open too much in this situation. Because, yes, that's one other thing that uses steam, it's the blower. So the blower is just like a fan which is driven by steam. And its purpose is to blow a draft through the firebox and increase the amount of fire and steam generation. What a wonderful view. You can see our smoke's got a little bit darker there as well, which is not great. But the main thing is we haven't stalled, we've got enough steam, and so we shall continue. Some nice views here. Some drive-bys, flybys. Okay, so we're doing about 45 miles an hour at the moment. Steam pressure's come back. So I'm not going to add any more throttle. We're on a bit of a downgrade section, I think, at the moment. It's going to keep those drains open. So if we do get any condensation, we're not going to affect the locomotive. No need for power now, and unfortunately our steam pressure's come back too, so can't win them all, but at least we've got the reserve power if we need it. See there, the smoke's reduced quite a bit now that I've closed that throttle up completely. Alright, inching our way to 50 miles an hour actually. And we're only about 3 miles out from our station. It should help us actually make some time, so that's actually good. That's what we want. Little crossing here. Another little flyby view. And you can just see there that our steam valve has just popped off momentarily. So again, we've got reserve power in that boiler at the moment, which is great, but probably won't be needed really, because I think we're actually descending a grade. Got another crossing coming up. I like to get a bit creative with the whistle sometimes. I'm just going to try and close everything up here, the dampers and the blower, because we don't really need steam generation at the moment. And we've got Kurt Cohen platform coming up. And that's in about 2.6 miles as well, so not too long now. We've got a slight curve in the distance there. I really wish they'd put a speedometer on these locomotives. Unfortunately they didn't come with any from the looks of things. I've just fully closed our dampers now, so this is actually going to affect our steam generation, but that's fine. We're about halfway on the boiler water actually, and I'm actually going to use the live steam injector this time, just to take the edge off our boiler pressure. And the last thing I need now is a hill, so hopefully that's not a hill coming up. You can tell that I don't really know this route that great at the moment. But see, it's times like this when you start asking for more from your steam pressure from your boiler, and if you haven't set it up correctly and put in place provisions for proper steam generation, you will suffer. And you can see the smoke there is quite dark, so we're burning a bit rich, as it were, similar to how you may see dark smoke from a vehicle's exhaust under hard acceleration. We've got too much fire, too much fuel, and not enough air, because I've closed up the dampers. So if I was to open the dampers now, you'll notice that smoke will lean out a bit. So we're not burning efficient at the moment, but we've got more than enough steam anyway. So again, I'm still coasting. I am coasting. I'm not applying any power at all, or if I am, it's only very small amounts. So nice views, lots of nice open farmland. Just going to back off the throttle, whatever I had on anyway. You can see there, I just noticed, you can see the steam pressure there is actually it's coming back a bit because we're using the live injector. The live injector uses live steam from the boiler, but I believe it pumps water a lot faster, which is what we want, I guess. Just coasting through. We've got gravity on our side at the moment, and you can see it's a pretty hard sort of descent we got going there. So I'm going to get onto the brake actually, because I think this is going to be an issue if we don't slow down. So again, just going to get the brake gauge in view on the right hand side there of the screen, and just going to drop our pressure, put some reduction there on the vacuum pipe down to about that looks like 10 or 15. Just want a gradual brake. We don't want to brake too hard. Again, we don't want to go all the way down to 0. Just want to hold it there. So we've got about 40-50% braking on at the moment, and I think that's a turnout ahead. Yep, we're going through it. Good thing I slowed down. Ooh, a bit too fast there. Got a bit of squeal from the rails. Not making our passengers happy today, I think, but for the purposes of the video, we did hang about at the start, and that's made us late. But it's only about 10 minutes or so. I'd love to build some scenarios, these locomotives. I see that little shed up ahead there on the left. It's been a while since I've actually been in the scenario editor in Train Simulator. I think the last time I actually edited scenarios was way back in the Railworks era, before the Dovetail Games crew took over. But interface is very much similar anyway these days. I just need to find time to get back into it. Yes, it would be great to build some more scenarios. Okay. Excellent brake application. Well, if I may say so myself. Stopped just where I want to stop. Hit T. Load, unload. Jeez, could she walk any slower? And there she goes. She's disappeared. Kurt Collin. Oops. Got a steam valve on with no water flow. That's what causes that. Oh, I think we've got too much coal in there. Sort of forgotten about that, I think. Just going to bottom out the throttle. Open our drains up. Get ready to go. Bit of light rain still. We've got a turnout ahead of us, so we're just going to go easy. And we're done. So, a few puffs on the whistle. Release our brakes, which actually stayed applied, which is good. Of course, doing what I'm doing right now uses steam as well, but that's fine. Get to about 18.5 inches and then back off, or sort of jiggle the handle a bit, as I'm about to do once the reservoir comes up, and jiggle. Okay, now yep, there we go. Make sure the handbrake is off. Reverser in full forward. Got our drains open from earlier. And we are leaving the station. Very romantic, that steam emanating from underneath the train there, underneath the steam locomotive. See it a lot in the movies, actually. And her face disappeared in a cloud of steam. Sorry. Alright, Newton Stewart is our last station. And we are continuing our descent down the hill. So I'm just going to go easy again. Again, I don't really care about our steam generation at the moment. I've just got it on minimum. We've got our dampers actually closed still. I don't envisage that we'll need much power, so I should actually just be laying right into this thing because we are late. But let's just enjoy the scenery a bit. I might just open one of the dampers anyway, just in case, and just get a little bit of blower going. Off the throttle to change up into a higher reverser gear, valve gear. So the reverser basically adjusts how much or for how long the steam is admitted into your cylinder. So when full forward, it's actually emitting the steam for the majority of the piston's stroke, but it becomes very wasteful at high speeds. So that's when you switch up to get more efficiency and speed. We're not really too bothered about speed right now though. We've got heaps of it. We've got enough. Now I'm just going to lay off the throttle even more. Whoa, whoops, not enough. Just got flung out of my hands again. Let's pull that back, shall we? Again, this is the advanced scripting as well, with manually fired options, so sort of just have to keep your wits about you as you go. Won't be long now. Our last station's coming up. And we've got a 60 mph limit on this track, on this section of the track. And I must say I'm very happy this time I managed to not actually run out of steam. I got close though, as you saw earlier. Just going to pump a bit more water. We've got a surplus of steam pressure, but our water levels are running a bit low. Let me just pump a bit more water. Let's give it a little bit more power. Let's just give it full throttle actually. Just going to give it a little bit more reverser to increase our force. Okay, we are trickling along nicely at the moment. Whoops. Just saw that bus disappear there on the road. Okay, so we're picking up a bit of speed because of our descent down the grade. Doing just over 30 miles an hour. Steam pressure's dropping a bit. I've been pumping a bit of water, but I think we might need more water actually. I'm not too fast at the moment. If there was a huge hill in front of us, this would be a cause for concern, but our smoke's grayed out a bit now, which is great. Love these little views. Birds are singing. Here in sunny Scotland. I love the Doppler effect as well on the sound effects. We are picking up some good speed here actually. Excess speed potentially as well, so I'm just going to get on the brake shortly. I just want to see what we got up ahead. I do like this locomotive because it gives you good forward vision through the portholes and both out the side as well, obviously. But yes, we are not far. I'm going to actually just get right off the throttle here and open our drains up. We don't need all this power right now. We are just coasting. And I do love the sound effects that these Meshtools guys put into these locomotives as well. Alright, Newton Stewart's coming up very shortly. Oh, there we got a nice close-up view of a London bus. Almost looks like a route master. I do love the shaking effects as well on the rail. Alright, time to get on the brake. No more fooling around. We are carrying a lot of speed, so there could be a switch or two up ahead. Just banking into this curve here. Coming on the brake. Yeah, we're running a bit low on water, but I'm sort of 46 miles an hour. Echo effect there from the bridge. Got a crossing coming up. I better actually just get this water going while we wait. I just don't want to be caught short of water. That's the last thing you want in a steam locomotive. Alright, got a bit of a curve coming up, and really we're not too far out from the station now, so I think this is pretty much the last curve, and then we'll be home and dry, almost. Maybe just a little bit wet. Nice little run down to Newton Stewart. Okay, so that sign's just telling me to slow down to 40. So I better get on the brake now, because I know we're doing at least 40. I want to get it down to about 30 actually. But again, we've got no speedo unless we rely on the HUD, which I don't really like to do, but it's there anyway. I'm just going to pull back on the brake a little bit more. Okay, just trying to read that speed sign up ahead. I think it says 20. Ooh, that looked quite heavy on the brake now. I'm just going to release it, otherwise we're going to grind to a halt. Okay, so we need 25 miles an hour if we're going through the turnout. I'm just going to add a bit of power because we really grinded the brakes on just then. We've slowed down quite a bit actually. Probably a little bit too much. Let's see, are we going to switch? Are we going to switch? No, we're not going to switch. Where are we? Where's this station of ours? Okay, here it comes. Oh, looks like we are going to turn out. Whoa. Shaking and jostling about there. Let's get on the brake, get on brake, get on the brake, get on brake. We are doing about 15 at least. Got a nice brake reduction on at the moment. Just going to roll up into the station here. The end of the line. For us anyway. Thank you for watching. Apologies, the video was a bit long. But hopefully you've enjoyed this and it's given you a good idea of how to operate the Meshtools J50 steam locomotive. Here we are at Newton Stewart, probably about 10 minutes at least late. Yeah, we are a bit late there. So stay tuned. I hope to be doing more train simulator videos in the future as well. Been bitten by the bug, it seems, and there's quite a few of these Meshtools locos and other more realistic locos as well, just as realistic out there. So see you next time. Cheers.